Hello and welcome to the Diaries. My name is Jen and this is my YouTube channel where I talk all about my knitting projects with a focus on using up my stash. And this is Ginny, and she has not settled down yet, have you? No. And Piper is here as well, and Maisie is sleeping in the front window of the living room. So she will probably show up eventually, but for now I just have these two to deal with, and this one, I think I'll put her in her kitty condo and maybe she'll settle down for a bit. Yeah, she just jumped right back out of it, and she's creeping around doing her Ginny thing. So anyway, I skipped last week because we in Cape Breton, so when I was recording the last time, Snowmageddon was in the process of happening. And after that, it was just a week of just mental exhaustion because my parents were snowed in and they were trying to get somebody to plow them out. And then I went down there and on the weekend and I did a little more shoveling for them because when they just did the minimum to get their car out after the plow came. And so I was out shoveling around their parking area to widen it for them. And then I made a trail for their dog because she's a little Miss Thing. She does not want to go under the deck to use the bathroom, so she wants to try to access her favorite spot. So I made her a little trail going up in behind their garden where it's one of her favorite spots. So the two of them, Piper and Kaylee, were tracking behind me while I was making the little trail. Anyway, it was unprecedented snowfall, 150 centimeters down in the Sydney area where my parents live. We didn't get as much here in Bedeck, but it was enough. I was out that Monday shoveling. My office was closed for 3 days, so I did get a lot of knitting done, which you're gonna see. I was doing a lot of knitting. Unfortunately now I have a little bit of wrist pain, so I won't be able to do any knitting today, maybe not tomorrow either. I'm gonna give it a good rest. We'll see what happens, but I definitely don't want it to get worse, so maybe I can cross stitch though, because that's just with this hand and it's this one that's sore. So I don't know. I will have to look into whether or not cross stitch, because I'll still have to hold it, so that's still like repetitive movement. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's not super sore, but I just don't want it to get worse. So all that said, yeah, I did a lot of knitting. I have a lot of things to talk about. What will I start with? Oh, acquisitions. There are none. So, yay. Anyway, next I have finished objects. And here they are. Okay, so last video I did a finisher frog, and I went through any of my current unfinished objects that were cast on in 2023 or earlier, so pre-December 31st. And this was one of them because it was cast on in December. I had this one done and I still had to finish this one. So he was the first thing I worked on after I did that video, and as you can see, he is adorable. And now this one has a friend, and the pattern is Snow Matter What by Sarah of Imagined Landscapes, and it was her mystery knit along for December, and the yarn is Borealis fiber. They're Canadian dyer, and I chose this little kit that is Tweety. It's Tweety and like buffalo check inspired. So I have enough left probably to make another gnome, so I might do that, or I might just use it up in a buffalo checky looking mug rug or something like that. It depends on how much yarn in each color I have. Like the gray and the white obviously are the most used up. But anyway, so yeah, I love these guys. I don't know if I have anything else to say about that. So that is one of my it wasn't a languishing work in progress because it was from December, but it was still like one that I knit this guy and then I didn't touch this guy at any point in the new year, and I like kind of stopped following the clues after a while in December because I was working on other projects trying to finish up some gifts. So this poor guy got neglected, but his name is Mr. Knightley, and there is a lovely story that goes along with this pattern. And if you buy the pattern, that story is included with it, and it is very cute. So that is those. And we'll talk about the elephant in the room. I finished my love note. Ta-da! So I knit it with the intention of wearing it over dresses. So this is just like a jersey Old Navy dress that I have that I'm just like using to demo it today, but I will get like a prettier dress to wear under it. I probably have one. It's just I want something that matches better. Like I have black ones with print and I don't know. I say they'd be fine, eh? A black one, they're like black and white print. They'd probably be okay. But I'm looking at like denim dresses and stuff online. Anyway, the love note. It is by Tin Can Knits, a very popular pattern. Knit up fairly quickly. I cast it on in the new year anyway. And as I worked on it, yeah, once I was past, she's hitting me with her paw. What's wrong, Boo? What's wrong? A little Piper interruption there. Okay, where was I? Tin Can Knits. It's kind of quick to knit up once I finish the lace. Then it was just like, because it's knit on big needles. And it's knit, 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 knit. And there's some short row shaping in the back, which I enjoy. I went with I pretty much followed the pattern exactly. I went with the same arm length that they had in the pattern, and I'm glad I did because I like to wear a stack of bracelets. I'm only wearing one in the video because I did one wearing a bunch of bracelets before and they were all clacking, and I thought that's probably distracting to people watching. Piper. Oh my god. Anyway, so I knit this out of stash yarn. It was Lizzie Ann Yarns Soft Sock in the Toasted Marshmallow colorway. Now Lizzie Ann Yarns is no longer dyeing, which is super sad because they were one of my favorites that I used to purchase at Bedeck Yarns. I still have some in stash that I purchased when Bedeck Yarns was closing. And I held it with tin silk mohair that I purchased at Tracy's Rolling Yarn Shop. And yeah, Sandnes Garn tin silk mohair in the almond colorway. So it's a little different color than what I normally make. I usually stick with blues. Blue is my jam completely. But this, I'm really happy with it. So yeah. Anyway. So that is the love note. Piper keeps bumping the thing. Now she's going to settle back on the futon again. But she's sitting on my works in progress. Okay, I think she'll settle for a bit. Little does she know that she's going to see her grandparents for a couple of days when I'm done this. We're going to go out for my father's birthday this evening. He turned 80 on Wednesday, on Valentine's Day. So we were waiting until the weekend to go out. But yeah, so we're going to be there for a couple of nights because it's a long weekend here. So she's going to be very happy with that. She's going to play with her buddy Kaylee, and the kittens are coming as well because whenever I go for more than one night, I take them with me. So anyway, next project that I finished, like I said, my office was closed for 3 days, so I had lots of knitting time. These are the Altitude socks. You've seen them in previous video. I think I had one finished the last time. But anyway, I finished the second one. I absolutely adore these. The pattern is by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. It is from one of her Socks Society collections. I think it was the 2023 one, pretty sure. And I've been trying to work through some of those that I haven't knit yet. The yarn is from a wonderful Canadian indie dyer by the name of Smash Knits. They are out of Manitoba. And the main color is Amarantine, and the contrast color is 36. I use these colors for my seed pod socks as well, and then I did a little switcheroo. So these ones are going to be a gift. I'm trying to alternate socks for me and socks as a gift. So then I find some years I neglect myself. So I'm trying not to do that this year. and while at the same time getting a lot of gift knitting done well ahead of gifting time. So anyway, I was editing this and then I realized that I forgot a finished project, and here it is. It's another pair of heavy socks. These are the ones that I knit to sell to coworkers, fellow search and rescue volunteers, friends, that kind of thing. I knit them, they're the heavy socks pattern. I knit them out of Briggs & Little Tuffy, and then this top part is Heritage. That is the Hunter Orange colorway in Briggs & Little Heritage. And Granite and Ecru out of the Tuffy. So I had these on the needles for a while, and then one of my coworkers who I sold socks to before was asking me if I had any in her size, and I was like to here, I think, on the first sock, and I hadn't decided what length the foot was going to be yet because I didn't know what size I was going to assign to these. So I told her I had some with orange cuffs on the needles if she was interested. And she was, so I knit them out of her size. I did some scrappy knitting as well. Here is, this is one of the first project bags I bought because I couldn't resist. My precious. The precious yarn is in there. And I love Lord of the Rings. Here is, I did one color on my Northeasterly blanket by Skein-Anigans. And I did this one. I'm trying to use up yarns as I finish projects, like the fingering weight ones that go on blankets. So this is one that I used for socks for my brother for Christmas, and then I knit a can cozy with it and gifted that to him as well. And then this was the remainder of the yarn that went into the blanket. So this is Turtle Pearl Yarns, one of my favorite self-striping yarn dyers. And the colorway is We Aim to Misbehave. It is based off of the show Firefly, the short-lived show that should never have been taken from us so soon. Yeah. I don't think they have this colorway anymore because I think it was the previous owner that would dye this one up, and the company switched owners at some point. But like, I love their yarn. I love the socks that are made out of them. They're pretty durable, and I love all the colorways. They have some new colorways that I really want to treat myself to. One is like rainbows alternating with pinks and purples. It's based off of The Last Unicorn. Yeah, really pretty, and like hits into that nostalgia vibe. So that is what I worked on my Northeasterly. Now, my trifle wrap got a lot of attention. So I think last time I was down here. So I finished like this stripe, this stripe, this stripe, this stripe, this stripe, and now I'm working on this one. But look at that Edison bulb. That is Madeline Tosh Edison bulb, that fluorescent yellow. That is amazing. I had that in my stash forever. I got it in Toronto years ago when I was visiting my sister. I think might have been when we went to the Faith Hill and Tim McGraw concert. So yeah, I can't remember when that was, but it was, excuse me, several years ago. And I finished off the Amarantine. That's the Smash Knits. Like I said, I want to try to get rid of the ones that I just finished using and get them right into a blanket, while also like targeting some that are older. But anyway, like this, oh no, this was one that I just used up. This is Fishnets yarn that I used up. Well, it's not used up yet, but I used for my niece's fingerless gloves for Christmas. Maisie is here now, so, and she's attacking my yarn. I don't know if I mentioned who this is by. This is another Helen Stewart pattern, Curious Handmade, and it was part of her knit vent from 2023. God, my little zoo. And anyway, yeah, so I am knitting this more as a lap blanket rather than a wrap. And it is wonderfully scrappy. And Maisie is attacking the yarn. So I'm going to take it away. There we go. All right. Tuck the ends in there so she won't be tempted. Okay, what's next? So for works in progress, not that my scrappy knitting aren't works in progress, I just kind of keep them in a different category. But anyway, regular works in progress. Referring back to my last video, this was one of my languishing unfinished objects. I did a little bag switcheroo because I wanted to give this bag some love because I haven't used it in a long time. This is by Amy Beth of Fat Squirrel Fibers, this bag. And I just love the like watercolor birds. Anyway, she picks the best fabrics. So this is my Mosaic Musings shawl by Stephen West. And it's wonderfully tangled right now. I just kind of stuffed it in there. But anyway, it is a slip stitchy type shawl. So when I did my video, I was to right here. I just had section 1 completed. I was so happy when I went back to work on this and I had finished at a reasonable spot. I finished at the end of section 1. So I used the Knit Companion app and my little light highlighter bar was like right in between section 1 and section 2. And to make sure that it hadn't slipped or anything, I looked at the stitches and counted them and stuff. And sure enough, I stopped at a great spot. So thank you, past me. In the past 2 weeks, I knitted the second section and the third section, and now I am into the fourth section. So making a bit of progress on that one. The yarn is Richard DeVries Pepino, the brown one, and it is called Brown on Brown. And then the alternating yarn, this one is Cozy Posy yarn in the Nunavut colorway, and that is another wonderful Canadian dyer. So that is that one. Another languishing whip that I pulled out of the pile. And I had a couple of projects from that video that I was going to frog, and this was one of them. It was a hat that I was working on for my work pal. And I had decided that I would frog the other hat and cast him on a Glenfiddich by Thea Coleman, which is one of my favorite hat patterns. I think this is at least the third, it might be the fourth one that I've knit. But this is Sugar Bush Bold, which you can't get anymore. And like I said, the pattern's by Thea Coleman, and it is wonderful. It's going to be deliciously cable-y when I finish knitting it up. And I knit 3 inches of ribbing so that there would be a brim. I do love a brim. Like in the sample knits, in the images on the pattern, it's like only like a 5-row brim. There's no folding up, but around here it's like a damp cold, so it helps to have that extra warmth with a fold-up brim over your ears. So that is that. Hopefully I will have that finished by the end of this week. But it's one that I can't be watching anything that I haven't watched before while I'm knitting it because I have to pay such close attention to it. So yeah. So my overarching theme of the year is Year of the Garment, which means I should always be working on a sweater or some other garment every week at some point in the week. I don't want anything to end up languishing in my UFO bin like some previous stuff has. So if I'm working on a garment, it needs to be worked on at least every week. So when this got cast off, I cast on a new one. So this is another Fat Squirrel Fibers bag. Another great whimsical design that she picked out. It's, I don't know, it's like, I can't get enough of this deer right here with the antlers, and then there's like little, there's a little owl there, another little bird hanging out in the antlers. There's a bell. Amy Beth, man, she's just got the best taste. So I cast on a Winter Sol by Jennifer Steingass, and this one is an interesting one, interesting construction. You start below the yoke, and then you knit up. And then when you finish knitting the yoke, you pull out your provisional cast on and knit down. I am not looking forward to that whatsoever. And this cast on, man, it took me, oh man. Initially it took 2 hours, but then I had to do it again because I picked a different yarn. It said to pick yarn smoother than the yarn that you're working with, and where I'm using like Let Lopi, that's not too difficult to do because Let Lopi is very grippy. So I initially cast on with some Cascade 220 scraps that I had, but then after I cast it on, it became very obvious that I wasn't going to have enough to do the 3 rows required. And so I had to rip that out, and it was a lot of stitches to cast on. It was 290 stitches for the size I'm making. And so that occurred, and then I tried casting on with this yarn, which is McCausland's Woolen Mills. This one might be too grippy, but I'll just cross that bridge when I get to it. I was casting it on, and I kept missing the amount of yarn to use for the long tail. I kept running out as I was casting on, so I cast this on like 3 times, and then when I finally got it cast on, I was just like, please don't twist. And I was like taking my time, like trying to make sure the stitches weren't twisted and everything, and they weren't, thank God, but that time I took to make sure that they weren't twisted was just anyway. So that took so much time to do, but anyway, I got going with it. Yeah, so this Let Lopi I bought with the intention of knitting myself a yoked colorwork pullover that I could wear outdoors with something under it, because it is like scratchy wool. And what are the colors? One is blue. The navy is called blue. This one is Heaven Blue. Wait now. Yeah, Heaven Blue Heather. Heaven Blue Heather. And this one is like gray ash heather, I think. Nope, light ash heather. So I wanted to get past there's 2 rows in here where you have to use the 3 colors. So I wanted to get past those and get those over with. I actually think this one is the culprit for my sore wrist, because it did, like, it's kind of a tight gauge for this weight of yarn. And even though I went up in needle size, I went up in needle size because I want it to be like a little bit bigger. If I run out of yarn, I'll order more. This one's not a hard yarn to get, so we'll see. I have quite a lot of it, but I don't know. Anyway, but this was like starting to hurt I could feel it, you know, that thing. So that's why I stopped knitting. I need to get through the 3 color rows, and then, so this is going to rest for a little bit while my wrist kind of recovers. But anyway, that is that one. I've been wanting to knit a colorwork yoke sweater for a while, and I'm very happy with how that is looking so far. I'm really liking the way that the colors are going together. They're very similar to the colors that the designer used in the sample, except the blue is very blue. But like I said, blue is my jam. So anyway, I have one more work in progress. So I needed a pair of socks to knit, and I am also doing the saltwater stash down, so I'm knitting from the saltwater knitting books. And the other 2 in this round are hats, and I have a hat on the needles, so I didn't want to cast on another hat, and I needed to have a pair of socks on the needles for like mindless knitting. I watched Oppenheimer last night, and I needed something mindless to work on. So these are out of the Saltwater Socks book. This one. There's Shirley and Christine right there. And this is what they look like. Now the pattern, where is it? Oh, it's in my Harry Potter bag. The pattern calls for casting on 72 stitches on a 2.25 needle. I know my gauge and everything, so I'm doing my good old 64 stitches. 72 would just be too much. And I picked it to some fairly old stash yarn. I went darker for the main color. So this is H&W Comfort Vola. And anybody who knows German can tell me the pronunciation. Is it 2 syllables or 1? Anyway, so that is the main color. Maybe I should just Google it. I'll put it into Google and get them to pronounce that in German. And then I'll know for next time. Because that's going to come up a bit because I like German yarns. But anyway, so this is the Crazy Zauberball that I used for my sister-in-law's socks for Christmas, and I'm pretty sure I have enough to use it in these socks. This is 2014 stash, so yeah, it's about time it got used up. Every time I pick out, like, I manage to find a pattern that will utilize older stash, it makes me so happy. That's part of the fun, is shopping the stash to find the perfect yarns. But so it has this like slip stitchy pattern, and it's a little bit addictive. That's how much I did during Oppenheimer. That's 3 hours worth of knitting. You'd think I would have more done, but meh. I did knit pretty steadily while watching it. I feel like the cuff took me a while. I was stopping to count and measure it and stuff, so anyway. So that is that one. And that is all the works in progress that I have. Now, while I was knitting, I was watching a couple of New to Me channels. One of them is Finished Knitting Stories, Yana. She's delightful. I absolutely love her. Like, her aesthetic and the stuff that she knits is similar to what I like to knit. So, yeah, super delightful. If you have not checked out her channel, then I highly recommend it. And another one that I've been really enjoying is Grumpy Sheep, Happy Llama. They are Robin and Sylvie, and they are from Ontario here in Canada, and also very delightful. If you like me, you'll probably like those two channels. And if you don't like me, you'll probably still like those two channels. Because when I say they're delightful, they are delightful. And Robin and Sylvie have a Ravelry group where they do a lot of fun knit-alongs, so I'm going to be getting in on some of those, and I've missed some that I would have enjoyed. Like, there were, I don't know if they did saltwater knits or if they just, I don't think it was a knit-along, I think it's just a thread, but I will be posting my saltwater knits in that thread. And right now they're doing a Canadian knit-along, so I can use my saltwater knits there, but also when I'm going to pick out yarns for Malabrigo March, I will look for Canadian designers to choose from. I think I already have one in mind for some Malabrigo scraps. But yeah, I will look for more. I will put that as part of one of my other videos, a little Malabrigo March prep. I do know one pattern that I'm knitting for sure, and I will pull that one out. But yeah, so that's Finished Knitting Stories, and she also has a Emotional Support Chicken knit up, and it is amazing. And Grumpy Sheep, Happy Llama. And I think that is it for me today. I have to pack up my animals and make the trek into the city. So Piper will be happy. She will have more space to run, and the kittens will be happy because they will have more people to pay attention to them. So anyway, I guess I'm taking a knitting break to look after my wrist, but yeah, I will see you next weekend. Take care.